everybody. We're ready for our second presentation for today, the 2 o'clock presentation. And that'll be Chuck Heck. After that, there'll be another presentation, which will be our last for the afternoon and our last for this convention at 3 o'clock by Steve Ellsworth on security, both for yourself and your collection, for your home, and when you're traveling. A good one to attend. Now we're going to hear from Chuck Heck. Chuck is a Brooklyn, New York native and a certified public accountant. He began collecting Indian cents in 1956 at the age of 8, when his father passed along a collection to him. Chuck developed an interest in the large cents and joined EAC in 1975. By 1988, his main attention had shifted to the 1794 cents by die variety, die state, and pedigree. Chuck is one of the few collectors who assembled a complete set of all the collectible 1794 varieties. A collection of his consisting of 102 1794s was sold by the Goldbergs in 2017. Chuck continues his interest in the 1794s and has very recently completed a definitive book on their die states. Chuck.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you very much.
Did he say you were certifiable?
I think he did. I think I heard that word. This is not a PowerPoint presentation. This is just more of a. Well, actually, I was hoping to bore you all to death with something more about die states, but I've overdone that. It's time for something else, and the something else was precipitated, by Walter passing, and I was asked by Patricia Husak Cameron, I don't want to screw this up. I was asked by Patricia to take a look at the coins and act as her agent to get a sale done. But I just want to back up a little bit as what led to all of this. In 2008, when Walter sold his original collection, he then, in that same year, 2008, set up a foundation, the Liberty Cap Foundation. It's going to continue. And what I'd like you to know is that it will continue doing educational things around the federal coinage, the early U.S. federal coinage. So once the coins are sold doesn't mean that the foundation is ending. It certainly can, but it's not going to happen. The foundation will not fold up or transfer assets until Patricia and the rest of the family are ready for that. And that I cannot obviously predict. When I went out there, of course, I knew some of the coins that Walter had, but I was very surprised to see certain ones. So I'm going to be looking at certain coins and show you why a collection like his is so interesting and can be used for many different purposes. But before I do that, let me just talk about foundations in general. Now, this is going to be like accounting talk, CPA talk, so get your pillows ready. This is a snoozer. And Bill's gone already. Harry's rubbing his eyes already. Jeez. 3 seconds into my discussion. 501c3. You have all heard them. You know that if you give a donation to a 501c3, you can get a deduction on your tax return. It's called a charitable deduction. I'm almost finished with this. I'm getting there. A lot of people don't know that there are flavors of 501c3s. And the flavors are public charity and private foundation. It's very confusing. The tax laws are very different between them. There's tax forms that have to be filed annually that are different than them. Most people think you file just a 990, IRS Form 990. Big mistake. If you are a public charity, you will be filing a 990. Now, what's a public charity? EAC is a public charity. Public. We are a membership organization, but we will take donations and dues from a wide group of people. Whether we have 800 members or 1,000 members or 10,000 members, it doesn't matter. We just don't get donations or membership dues from 5 people. 5 people. That would be more than likely a private foundation. Not public, private. Very simple in my mind, but very confusing to the general public. Now, when you talk about private foundation, you have 2 more sub-flavors. You have private operating and private non-operating. It's easy to explain a non-operating. You take people with lots of money, a family with lots of money, and they don't want to do the good deed, like go out there and perform what the intent is. They want to just make a money transfer, a donation to another place, another foundation that will do the good deeds. Take, for example, the Red Cross. The Red Cross sends staff to disaster areas. They are an operating foundation. But if there is another foundation set up that just sends the Red Cross money, here, we'll give you money to do the good deeds, they're the non-operating foundation. Okay. And tax laws are extremely different. Okay, I'm done with that. I don't want to put you to sleep. Harry's smiling. Oh. Here, one other thing. When the rich and wealthy get laws like this passed, they benefit from them. Anybody know what your capital gains, the maximum capital gains rate is to an individual on your 1040 form? The maximum rate for long-term capital gains is 20%. And they think that's good because, you can pay more if you don't have a capital gain. If it's ordinary income, you could pay into the 30% areas. Foundation, it's 1.39%. 1.39%. Foundations get great tax breaks. Okay, questions? No? Good. Let's move on. No. Are there any questions? All right. People that want to do good things and they set these foundations up, it's unfortunate that anybody a lawyer in here? Their lawyers don't necessarily explain all the details. Oh, Frank, I'm sorry, I apologize. Let me not say anything, but a lot of lawyers, I don't think they're to blame. I think that the individual person that has these things set up doesn't understand all the ramifications. There's a lot of foundations that should have never been set up. Walter's achieved its ultimate goal. All right, so getting it back into the... Walter has approximately, 217 coins, I believe, is the total that's going to be in the sale. The photography was done by Lyle, and what I would really like to show you are some of the photographs and tell you why it's important. I was actually expecting that Melanie and Patricia would be here today. I wanted Melanie to talk about the intent of the foundation, but again, like I said, they're going to continue on. They're going to be doing major changes to their website. Well, they don't have a website, but they will now. And I'd like to look at Sheldon 1. All right, all of these photos were taken by Lyle Engelson, and what I wanted to show you here, more on the reverse. And Bill, in his prior talk, was good testament about well-taken photographs. When you expand them and you could see the details, that's worth everything. I don't have Bill's technical background, so I can't use the same terminology or words that he's talking about, but I know when you get a good quality photograph, like Lyle is taking, you get the ability to see things that you might not want to see. Little dents, little scratches. I thought my coins were pretty cool And then when I blew them up, 200 times, I saw things that made me shudder. I paid
You
how
wanna
much?
be careful about that.
Pardon me?
You wanna be careful about that.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you. All right, but I want to start off with Sheldon 1 simply because it's such a cool coin. I wanted to show you another photograph, and this is for the Sheldon 24. The Sheldon 24 that's in Walter's sale came from the Nancy and Brian Yamasaki collection. And we all know Sheldon 24 is known as the apple cheek because of the plump cheek. And I loved when in Bill's prior seminar, he talked about spalling. A lot of people call this dye rust, right? See those pimples? That's rust. That's spalling. And spalling is just the wearing out of the metal. You got two dyes banging up against a copper planchet, and eventually they take their toll. But they do it in many different ways. I read a very scientific article, and believe me, I wish I could understand what I was reading. Asimov and I forget the other co-author, and they talked about the different types of spalling. My goodness, I mean, there's fractures galore, there's pimpling like you see here. So again, I don't want to get into that, but spalling is a general word for deterioration. Bob Grumman and I were discussing dye states when I was doing my book, but here's the point. Walters Foundation owns this coin, and I have never seen this before, this dye crack, as I called it, going from the E to the S. And the unfortunate thing is that this crack appears at a dye state that is younger than the later dye state. That crack is not on the later one. Now, how did they get rid of that crack? How did they make it disappear? They didn't. I don't think it's a crack anymore. I think it's a wire strand that somehow ended up between the dye and the planchet, and it struck up like this. And we have evidence that other people think like this, because when Craig Shawley did his work on the Sheldon 50 to 54 series, there's a little piece of wire that he talks about, and that little piece of wire is underneath the eye in America. It's there and then it's not there, and the reason why he believes that is you see is that hand waving at us?
That's your cursor.
What's going on? We have a little bump here under the eye, which he thinks is the little piece of wire, and then later when it disappears, there's an indentation. Pretty interesting. The only problem is that here in a later dye state, where we don't see this this strand, where we don't see it, we don't see an indentation. So I'm at a loss. I don't know. I don't. You can't explain everything. In my book, I use that term from Shakespeare in Love. It's a mystery, But this is what I like about anybody's collection. I'm just talking about the Husak coins, of course, here now, but you get to really see these things up close. All right, fine. Sheldon 33. There's a gentleman who's doing an article on Sheldon 33, and he's not, like I say, one of us. He's not an EACer, and he's having a tough time. He's having a tough time with the wheel spoke. And the one that Walter has in his collection is a fairly good indicator of what I was trying to explain to him. In the earlier stages of Sheldon 33, and by the way, let me go through the 6 wheel spokes. In the earlier stages, these are very tiny little die cracks at both of the ribbons. The eye in United has a very thin crack to start with. I know we call this a spoke. It looks a lot more like an arrowhead with the point hitting the dental. It never looks like a line. It always looks more like a little bit of a triangle here. Same thing with between the A and the T. It's somewhat triangular, but it does have a linear component. And of course the A is really a line. So you have your 6 wheel spokes. But the funny thing is, as they get thicker, wider, the linear ones, they flare out and they become more like, again, arrowheads, like funnels. And you really don't see that with a lot of die cracks where they seem to flare out. So I think there's a lot of chipping going on, there's a lot of widening, and all right, there's a lot of wear on this. And as I think any of you can attest to, the more wear something gets, it makes them look later than they really truly actually are. You have a lot of wear, so when you see things wearing down, they look thicker, deeper, and you say, oh, it's a later die state. It's just sometimes wear that can trick you. But again, Walter didn't do a lot of that. The foundation wants to do this now. Not talk about die states like I do. The foundation wants to show coins and have not EACers necessarily, Cub Scout groups, Boy Scout groups, Girl Scout groups come in and ask questions. We don't know if that's going to be successful. When I say we, it's really them. But we don't know if that's going to be successful, but they'd like to try that. They'd like to go steps further that they have not taken in the past. And anybody have any questions up to now? Yeah, Tom?
Do you think that's environmental damage?
Do I think that's what?
Environmental damage in the fields?
Where? Where?
Fields.
In the fields?
Yeah.
The roughness in the fields.
Oh, Sheldon 30, well, a lot of it's spawning, and I'm sure a lot of it is environmental damage. I would think so. But this is too low a grade coin to kind of figure that out for me. Many times you'll see coins that have had a lot of wear, and some of it could certainly be environmental damage, but there's a lot of spawning going on. Yeah.
Yeah, there are other wheel spokes,
Ding?
1829 and 7 others.
Dana, I'm sorry, I'm so deaf.
My question is there an early states of S33 without the,
We only know of one.
okay?
There's only one that we know of that has no cracks whatsoever. Right. And again, I'm not going to get on a jag about this, but when Walter Breen said he saw one with 2, the coin with 2 was the ANS coin that he was talking about. I have that in his notes. I've seen the ANS coins. They have 3 of the Sheldon 33s. The ANS, they've all got at least 4. You know, the one that he was talking about has 4. So I'd like to show you something I consider really interesting. I picked on Dan Trollin's Sheldon 26 when I did my book. Now the Husak collection, or the Liberty Cap collection, will certainly show you something unusual. And let's take a look at the obverse of that 36. Do you see any evidence of clash marks? Remember dies when they strike each other. The planchet's not in there. Little Johnny Three Fingers was putting the planchet in between the dies. And little Johnny wasn't quick enough to get the planchet in there, so the dies hit each other. Do you see any evidence of clash marks? Okay.
Dental's 9 o'clock.
The dental's at where?
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock? Over here? Yeah, that's a problem. All right? But I'll make it easier for you. Let's look at the reverse. All right, I'm not looking at the die break, the crack here. I'm looking at Miss Liberty's pole, the InQ's pole marks. I'm looking at the bust lines. I'm not looking at the crack. I'm looking at Miss Liberty's cap. There's a lot of clash marks here. Why, if the dies clashed, do you see the reverse showing so many clash marks and the obverse, there's nothing? There's only one answer I can come up with.
Clashed with a different die.
A different die. Yeah. The obverse die was made out of, somehow it was made out of steel. Remember, it's blister steel. It was just stronger. When it took the hit, it didn't fail. When it took the hit, it just didn't take the detail from the reverse die. But when the reverse die got hit with the obverse die, the reverse die must have been weaker steel, and it shows evidence all around. It's the only possible answer I can come up with.
What if that reverse die were used with a different obverse die?
If this reverse die, oh, that happens all the time. This reverse die then gets used with a different obverse die. It's still going to show the cracks that it's still going to show the detail that it took on from the prior hit.
No, if the obverse die,
You said the reverse die.
the
We're looking at the, okay, so now you want to go here. You want to go to,
the wrong way, but the clash marks show on the reverse die. And you ask why
The
aren't they
clash
on
mark-
the obverse die, but maybe the clash mark.
obverse is, let's say, the,
Those two dies were paired, and they never clashed.
and then they were,
They never clashed.
Was that reverse die ever paired with anything else? That's the question.
Yeah. That's a better way to state it.
okay, I got lost earlier. I'm sorry. One more time. Take the reverse.
Was that reverse die
Ever
ever
paired with,
paired with
Was
another?
this one ever paired with anything else? No.
never.
No, this is unique to Sheldon 26.
That's a good theory.
But if this reverse die had been used later in another combination, you would
No,
still see
earlier.
those. Of course.
My point was earlier. If it had been used earlier, clashed then it was paired with an obverse, no clashes occurred subsequently. So then you have the
Okay,
clashes on the
that's good.
reverse.
Yeah, no. In this case,
Never
the
happened.
26 was paired with 25, and then 26 head was paired with 25's reverse. Okay, and 25 and 6 head are the same, but this reverse die never got paired with anything else.
That actually supports your theory that it was made of stronger steel.
Yeah, and by the way, if you read any of the Bolton papers, Matthew Bolton over in the Soho Mint, I mean, this was commonplace. Matter of fact, Bill, I'm sure Bill has done his research. The Matthew Bolton, they were using punches and master punches, and yeah, they were using hubs way before.
They also had better steel.
And they also had, there's papers there where Matthew Bolton is asking Benjamin Huntsman Jr. Benjamin Huntsman and his son had the same names. Benjamin Huntsman Sr. was the one who actually is credited with first having a homogeneous product of steel. And he was making his steel for watch parts. He never patented it. He never went any further, and it was suppressed by the steel boys over in Birmingham because they didn't want any competition, obviously. But there's a letter from Matthew Bolton to Benjamin Huntsman Jr. begging for his best steel to make dies. Again, I'm not promoting the book, but it's in the letters in the excerpts from the letter are in the book. Bolton's papers are extremely helpful. But again, this is the point. So the Liberty Cap Foundation is going to talk about things, something like this, if people are interested. I would like to show you one more, and then I really want to open up to you. Walter's favorite was the Sheldon 67. It has the teardrops, as we call it. He called it the Crying Lady. I called it teardrops because Sheldon 67 has, as you see here, 4 distinct marks. Right, I can't see from that angle. Let me just take my cursor, my mouse. 1 here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are not clash marks, they're just imperfections, little gouges in the die, so they're raised on her cheek. And that was his favorite. Yes, it does have clash marks, but I wanted you to see that. And if you get up close and personal, you can really see them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to just take a second. Melanie, you want to talk at all about the foundation and what you're planning on doing in the future? Want to come up here? This is Melanie Oxford Prosser. She is Patricia Husak's daughter. You probably met her. There's stairs here. She's an athlete. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you plan on going?
Oh, I
with the,
think, yeah,
with
what we're trying to do. So, I think I said something about this. If you were there on Wednesday night, you might have heard this. We want to make it a repository for the 2008 and the 2024 collection. We don't want to duplicate what Newman Numismatic is doing. We want to sort of work in concert with that. But what we're also interested in is coins as forms of cultural artifacts and historical artifacts. And so we're going to come from that approach. So blending in different things that, different cultural artifacts and looking at the coins in slightly different ways. For instance, one thing I'm interested in particular is at this time with the Liberty Cap and the depiction of Lady Liberty and the idea of revolution, liberty, and women in France and in the US, those kinds of things, so that we take what the coins show us as a national depiction of what liberty is, and then we start to sort of consider that from that sort of cultural heritage, cultural artifact. At the same time, the other side of it is, and this is my specialty, we're going to be creating curriculum for different grades that sort of link, sort of do what a teacher would do anyway, but do it for them, or at least make suggestions for them. So if we took, say, that idea of Lady Liberty, could link it to archive papers here and there, we could link it to literature, we could link it to other museums and so on. And then because our curator and creative director is a millennial, there will be a very strong Instagram presence. And that's part of this idea, and we saw that I think last night with Jordan and, can't remember his name, Steve Carr's son?
Jim Carr.
Jim Carr, yeah, we've got younger people in roughly that generation interested in it. So that's the other part of it, is to place the Liberty Cap Foundation with a strong visual presence to bring in other people to be interested about it. So we're sort of coming at it from both sides. And then the real pie in the sky thing, and Newman does this already, they're digitizing coins. Our hope is to be able to ultimately get the coins to be able to be 3D printed in classrooms, so that kids could 3D print the coin. They could blow it up, right? Lyle has offered us the images in these really large formats. The kids could have something concrete and physical to look at. So that's what we're all about. Thank you.
Questions?
We're growing, so we're
But now,
starting.
all of these coins of Walters, they're gonna be sold, right? So the foundation it's all gonna be based on imagery of the collection.
It's going to be digital, but then we also have we've retained some of the coins.
Some of them will not.
Some of
be.
them will not be, and then we'll be able to add as we decide which way to go and what interests
You
us.
can't let kids handle that coin, for example.
No, not so much, not so much. But if you want to print a 3D plastic version of it, go for it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Let me just speak to that also, Wendell. It's a good question. People are saying, well, all the coins are being sold. They're not. Yeah, there's more. They're not going to sell those other coins until we figure out 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what we want to do. Want to see, they're testing the waters. They're going to where the foundation had never gone before. They're really a private operating foundation, and they're going to do the operations that they need to do. I'm not saying they weren't doing it in the past. They're taking it to different levels. And based on the advice from their attorney, and they're getting hopefully a good CPA somewhere in Florida. I mean in California. No, I'm kidding. But they're doing a lot of good things. The point I wanted to make: in order to do what they want to do, it's going to cost. How do they raise money if they're a small foundation? You sell some of the items that you have. The decision was made, and I think it's a smart one. I know they think it's a smart one. They're going to be doing big things. So these coins are going to go out into our hands when you pay exorbitant prices for those coins, and they'll be able to finance what they want to do. Now, people have said incorrectly that if you sell those assets, you lose your status. That's not true at all. You sell those assets and you turn them into cash. Sure, there may be some taxes to pay, but you have cash that you can use to operate, and that's the purpose of it.
Yeah. And then I do want to say a few other things really quickly. So we're going to be doing scholarships.
Oh,
But the
yes.
other thing that I really love is we're calling them 1794 micro grants. And so people who are interested in cultural heritage, which means they could be working on 18th century manuscripts, they can get a 1794 micro grant, which I think is really cool because, part of what we want to do is give people scholarships.
Yeah.
Give it back to the public good. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Questions? Do you want to see any particular variety? I've got everything that's going to be shown.
There's 48 in there?
Pardon me?
Is there 48 in there?
Thanks.
The 48?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. It's very close to the one he had before, the finest known. It's only I can't see anymore.
Do you know, Chuck, how does Walter's second collection compare with his first collection in terms of?
Yeah, they're just different. It's hard to compare them. See how close it is to the finest known? It's completely the opposite. I'm just teasing you. It's burnished, it's been polished, it's a lower grade, but it definitely is the 48. There's the stars. But as far as comparable, two Sheldon 57s, both of them Oswald coins. There were 3 Oswald Sheldon 57s. He has had the third one, but the finer of the 2 is going into the sale. The other one is going to be kept to pass around a stunner and let people see it.
18B.
Pardon me?
18B.
I'm so sorry.
18B.
18B, yes. 18B. This one you're going to be disappointed with. I apologize, I know. I'll apologize for Walter. It is only one of the finest known, so. And by the way, I if you were there Wednesday night, I forgot that we use screens here. We don't use a TV screen. We use a material screen. The color that you're looking at is definitely not the color of the coin. The coin is a very, very pretty, vibrant tan. It's a stunner. You'll see it. It's out there if you want to take a look at it. This makes it look a little more muted and reddish brown. It's nothing like that at all. And the reverse, you see all the detail on the leaves. It's just a real beauty. Yeah. Dennis.
Go back to the foundation for a minute.
Sure.
Has the foundation clearly articulated a mission?
Yes. I can read it to you word for word.
Chuck,
Yes.
we're also refining that mission statement.
I'm sorry?
We have an initial mission statement.
You revised it?
No, we have that one that you have, but we will be refining it.
You will be refining it.
We'll be refining
All right. The word for word, purpose, under the purpose clause, to foster the study, preservation, and public display and appreciation of early coinages of the United States of America and related materials and antiquities of historical importance. So it wasn't just copper coins. By the way, the foundation had, I think, two $17.94. It had I think it had the finest known $17.94 half dollar. Those are all gone now. They sold them some time ago, in prior years. It didn't just have copper. Good, Dennis? Yeah. Anything else? Any coin you'd like to see, or any other questions? All right, hope you're not disappointed. Foundation's going to continue. You're going to see them at EAC. You're going to see them at other places, at A&A. And if you have a kid at home who needs a grant, you know, to attend something, I'm sure you're going to be able to contact Melanie or somebody and make an application. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Melanie.